What's good? It's Woog. Gervonta Davis defeats Ryan Garcia via 7th round knockout. We're not talking TKO. He actually got the full 10 count, Ryan Garcia did, and did not get up from taking a knee after getting hit in the body during a moment where Gervonta Davis was deep inside the pocket, very close to Ryan Garcia. He let a left hand go just to the side of the belly and a little bit up towards the ribs. It didn't look like much in real time, but Ryan Garcia clearly wasn't bracing for the shot at all, and he was clearly in pain. I mean, he took an awkward big step back right after the moment of impact. Grimace took one more or two more steps back, took the knee, didn't get up. And, you know, I think that this might have been Gervonta Davis's best performance, at least in the last several fights of his career. And I mean, just round over round, not falling back on the scorecards, not really even splitting rounds where it's win a round, lose a round. This was a pretty dominant performance prior to the knockout where Gervonta Davis looked like he was at least a couple grades above Ryan Garcia. I would say Ryan Garcia got outclassed before he got knocked out. And, you know, I did pick Gervonta Davis to win via TKO or knockout between the 7th and the 9th rounds. And that did in fact happen. What I didn't think would have happened was Gervonta Davis winning the vast majority of the rounds. You could have had Gervonta Davis up 4 rounds to 2 heading into the 7th, plus the knockdown in the 2nd round. Or you could have even had Gervonta Davis up like 5 rounds to 1, only giving Ryan Garcia perhaps that first round. So this was not a case of feast or famine for Gervonta Davis, where you're either losing the round or you're hurting the opponent. No, Gervonta Davis clearly outboxed and outfoxed Ryan Garcia round over round. Very impressive. And it's so interesting because when you look at some of these moments and some of these exchanges, when Ryan Garcia did let his hands go, he looked dangerous in spots, right? Like even in the early part of the fight, we're talking like just 1st and 2nd round before the knockdown, the first knockdown. Ryan Garcia, when he was letting his hands go, and especially when he started throwing the punches in the clinches, I'm watching this and I'm wondering, Gervonta Davis is going to have his hands full, especially if there's no reprieve, meaning even in the spots where Gervonta Davis is trying to tie up, he's taking shots to like the side of the head from in tight. I thought that was interesting. It could have posed additional challenges for Gervonta Davis. But then Gervonta Davis, after kind of holding and then appealing to the ref a little bit, I was wondering what he was complaining about. I think it was, shots to the side or near back of the head when they were in those clinch positions. I wasn't sure what Gervonta Davis was talking to the ref about. And then you see every now and then Gervonta Davis also communicating with people outside of the ring. Like you'll see him looking like he's distracted. And I never loved those moments. I saw him doing it a bit against Hector Garcia. You saw him doing it a bit against Raleigh Romero. That just seems to be a thing that, Tank feels comfortable doing. But yeah, I saw those early hits to the side of the head from in those clinches and I'm thinking, damn, okay, Gervonta Davis is going to have to figure this out, not only from long range, but even in tight. And then you saw Gervonta Davis start moving laterally. He was moving spectacularly in this fight to where you saw that Ryan was not comfortable throwing even a jab. And, I suspected that Ryan Garcia might have trouble finding Tank Davis with the jab, but I thought that what Ryan Garcia had to establish was a reliable and consistent right hand to give Gervonta Davis more than the left hook to think about. But boy, Gervonta Davis was good at managing range here. So he would move laterally, getting Ryan Garcia to kind of chase him a bit. And then he would find these moments and he would even put that probing right hand out. And I thought that he had to be careful about putting that probing right hand out because Ryan Garcia could counter on top of that extended right hand with his left hook. So Davis had to be and was careful about how he put it out there and what he was doing timing wise to close the distance using that probing hand. And, I was watching this with my brother, my uncle, and a few friends, and it was it was a fun event. And you knew that this was one of those occasions. But my uncle pointed out that, he would have the probing hand out and then he would step in after using that probing lead hand almost as a blinder to Ryan Garcia. And usually you see the taller rangier fighter, using the lead hand as a blinder and even a range finder. So you had Gervonta Davis establishing more of a jab than Ryan Garcia established. You also saw Gervonta Davis starting to throw left hand leads, not putting everything on it. Like he took a little something off the fastball, but he was putting his left hand leads together, right? So he would shoot a straight left and he would continue moving laterally. Sometimes he would shoot the left and duck, almost like Floyd Mayweather used to do with the pull counter. So he would sometimes shoot the straight left, step down and around Garcia, turning Garcia, and Garcia wasn't even in a position to throw as he was being turned. So from a defensive standpoint, I thought that this was a level of mastery that, you know, you would see Tank Davis doing certain things that made him look like a very good defensive fighter, but for him to piece it together frame after frame after frame, moment by moment, this was highly impressive. And boxing is such a game of inches where, you know, in the second round, in those moments before that first knockdown, you saw how that Ryan Garcia left hand hook was just zipping by and missing Tank by this much. He ducked about 4 of them before Ryan Garcia threw one hook too many. I think it was the 4th hook that Ryan Garcia threw in that sequence that Gervonta Davis then countered. So it was one hook and Gervonta Davis slipped it. Then the second hook right behind that one, Davis slipped it. Then it was another hook that Davis slipped. And then Ryan Garcia started marching forward through one more left hand hook lead that Gervonta Davis then slipped and then countered beautifully, putting Ryan Garcia on his side, knocking him down. Again, it wasn't the most devastating of shots, but it doesn't take as much when the guy's walking into the heat. And yeah, Ryan Garcia seemingly recovered well. You saw that his nose was bloodied up after that and that he kept pawing at his nose after that knockdown. So no, this wasn't a highlight reel knockdown, but it was picture perfect when you see how Tank countered. And it took a level of defensive mastery to be able to put those misses turned into counters together, because most guys, I mean, some guys would have just gotten blasted by one of those left-hand hook leads. Like Gervonta Davis tends to keep his eyes open. He sees everything. It's not like he's just kind of shelling up it with his eyes closed or looking down instead of straight. No, Gervonta Davis is actually remaining focused and locked in during these otherwise very treacherous moments. Again, a lesser defensive fighter would have gotten their head taken off by one of those cat-like quick left hooks from Ryan Garcia. But, you know, after, I would say, the second round, and certainly after the third round, it started looking more and more like Ryan Garcia was reduced to having a puncher's chance. He started looking like, I mean, maybe he catches Tank with one of these blistering shots, but if he doesn't, it looks like Tank Davis might actually, quote unquote, punish Ryan Garcia in this one. And you saw the punch stats after the fight. Gervonta Davis started to work the body pretty well with both hands. Like he even did the, you know, the probing hand high, the right hand lead high, turned into a jab to the belly. He put that one together. And once I saw Ryan Garcia allowing that probing hand to stay out there without Garcia throwing something on top of it, I was thinking either Ryan Garcia is setting his own trap or he's starting to respect every little thing Tank does to where, damn, it's only a matter of time. And Ryan Garcia is now clearly being hunted and is feeling the pressure of being hunted, because now you've got Tank Davis landing these, you know, we won't call them home run shots. We'll call them doubles and triples and even singles, starting to land some of these punches, and Ryan Garcia just starting to eat them to where it seemed like he wasn't even aware of his own vulnerabilities in some spots. And that's what he eventually got caught with in the 7th round. It was Gervonta Davis being in tight, Ryan Garcia not really realizing how vulnerable his body was. Tank was also switching up the looks. He would go low a couple of times, but it's like, if you're Ryan Garcia, you've got to do something about getting hit to the body cleanly. And I knew that Gervonta Davis going to the body consistently would make Gervonta Davis more vulnerable. Same thing with Ryan Garcia. When you're going to the body, you are vulnerable up top. And Ryan Garcia, after getting splashed to the sides, not only the middle of the belly, but to the sides of the belly area, getting hit, and even in the solar plexus area, in some of those really tight exchanges, I saw Gervonta Davis shoot an uppercut to the solar plex area and land it. I'm like, damn, this cannot be pleasant for Ryan Garcia. So you've got to respect what's going on to the body, but you can't overcommit defensively to the body, because that's when you get chin checked in one of those fake low, go high scenarios. And you just can't afford to get faked low and get hit high by Gervonta Davis. That's where you'll get a highlight reel style knockout. But yeah, this was a pretty brilliant performance for Gervonta Davis. It's really hard to deny him pound for pound top 10 consideration at this point. I know that it becomes a bottleneck of, well, who are you going to remove from the top 10? Do you remove the people who are in those 8 to 10 spots? Do you remove like a, Lomachenko? Do you remove Josh Taylor? This is another conversation for another day, because you also have Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. They're all, Stephen Fulton has to fight Naya in a way that will be settled in a couple of months. But it's really interesting because you're going to see a lot of variance on who people are bringing into those 7 to 10 spots in their pound for pound top 10, leaving out other very good fighters like, you've got Dmitry Bivol, you've got Artur Beterbiev, who are in the same division, which hurts both of their pound for pound standings. And then again, at lightweight or at 140, because, you've got, Teofimo has gone up. Ryan Garcia came back to 136 to fight Tank. But yeah, you've got Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, and now Gervonta Davis has this super high quality win over Ryan Garcia to flaunt resume wise, because this was the type of win Gervonta Davis was lacking. But we'll see what happens with Ryan Garcia matchmaking wise going forward, because he did show some vulnerability, but I would say it's the type of vulnerability that it would take somebody of this caliber of Gervonta Davis to exploit. You can't have any B minus, C plus, B level fighter exploiting these things. You will more than likely get caught by something big coming from Ryan Garcia. But yeah, this was a very surgical performance for Gervonta Davis. I want to know your thoughts on this one. Again, it was so intense because you knew that both guys had to be super careful early. So that just kind of builds the intensity and the suspense in the moments, right? Where you see Gervonta Davis looking a little bit stressed out in the first round. Like he had to grab and hold. And there were a couple of moments where I didn't know if something got through and hit Davis to where he was holding out of, hey, I've got to do something to buy myself some time. Or if it was just, I don't know what was leading to the holding in the first round, but it just made for a very interesting scenario and a very dramatic scene, because all you see at that point is Gervonta Davis holding, Gervonta Davis talking to the ref, Gervonta Davis not liking whatever's transpiring in that first round. So it heightens the intensity, but he more or less had it figured out by that second round. And, I knew that, or at least felt that, whoever got greedy would pay significantly. And in the second round, it was Ryan Garcia getting a bit greedy when he got caught. You're coming in with left hand leads, damn, be careful when you're just shooting one left hook after the other, just going to that well one too many times. So yeah, he, in my view, got a bit greedy in the second round, paid for it, and then started dropping rounds. He might have won one more round after that, but yeah, brilliant performance from Gervonta Davis. Let me know your thoughts on this one. I don't know what this means for Gervonta Davis's matchmaking, because if you thought PBC and Team Gervonta Davis were playing hardball negotiation-wise before, now that Gervonta Davis has won a bona fide super fight, whoever comes in as the B-side to that fight is going to have to make some concessions, I believe. But yeah, let me know what you think this means for both of these guys matchmaking wise. Does Ryan Garcia go right back to a big fight? Does he continue to work on his game under the tutelage of Joe Goosen and then come back probably at 140, right? I think Ryan Garcia is going to be a 140 fighter, but he's on Golden Boy DAZN. So what does that mean being that Top Rank is holding most of the cards at 140, does Ryan Garcia try to angle for a pro-grade fight, a shot at pro-grade's WBC title? I mean, that seems like a pretty dangerous proposition too, because Prograde's a hard-hitting, well-rounded fighter. I don't think Prograde's as good defensively as Gervonta Davis is, which is pretty interesting, right? Because reputation-wise, Gervonta Davis was seen as being a good defensive fighter, but not this brilliant, but the story is still being written on how complete Ryan Garcia's game is. We'll see what happens in the fights to follow this one. It's possible that Ryan Garcia goes on a tear and a winning streak, beating high quality opponents after this, but we'll again have to see how that goes down, and we'll see what kind of matches they are able to make on the Gervonta Davis side, because it's weird. You've got the guy who's got the superstardom, so to speak, but then you've got Devin Haney, at least right now, holding all of the belts. We'll see how Haney versus Lomachenko plays out. And, granted, if Haney is able to beat Lomachenko, that changes things from a superstar standpoint on the Devin Haney side, because now you've beaten Vasily Lomachenko on a pay-per-view. So yeah, things are getting very, very interesting. And I just hope that when it's time for these more important cross-promotional fights to be made, that they get made like this Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight was eventually made. Hopefully with fewer rehydration clauses and, just little things and clauses in the contract that make things seemingly disadvantageous to the B-side fighter. I want to see the fights get made and have assurances going in that these guys are feeling at their best heading into the fight. But, if Devin Haney then again beats Vasily Lomachenko, which is a big if. By the way, Paulie Malignaggi, just for those who, care about different esteemed opinions and different people whose boxing knowledge we respect greatly, Paulie Malignaggi's going Vasily Lomachenko, but Paulie Malignaggi went Ryan Garcia via knockout over Tank as well. But if Devin Haney beats Lomachenko, it's probably more likely that he goes up to 140 because of how much he seems to be growing and the increased difficulty at making that weight at 135. But yeah, let me know what you thought about Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Were you did you think that, damn, this is looking pretty good for Ryan in the first round, basically leading up to the knockdown? Did you think that Gervonta Davis might be in over his head? Because again, it looked like, man, there's nowhere to run or hide, because outside, Ryan Garcia probably has the advantage, especially when he's starting to whip that left hook. And then inside, now Ryan Garcia looks like he's the rougher of the two, letting his hands go in the clinches. Did you see that as being problematic for Gervonta Davis up until that second round knockdown? Or did you think that Gervonta Davis more or less had it figured out? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But yeah, this is one super fight in the books. I'm glad that it went down, and I'm glad that there wasn't a controversial ending to this one. I'm glad that this wasn't a disputed decision. There was a clear winner. Ryan Garcia was clearly hurt to the body when he went down, and Gervonta Davis again started setting that up by hitting Ryan Garcia to the body and mixing up the attack high and low. All around A-level performance for Gervonta Davis, one of the best of his career. I think that this is probably going to go down as one of the performances of the year for 2023. Yeah, Gervonta Davis, he checked a few more boxes in case you had questions on how he could handle this style, that style, fighting an opponent with one-punch knockout power. I thought that the poise that Gervonta Davis showed was second to none. And, props to Ryan Garcia for being gracious in defeat. Just all around class act. Ryan Garcia really seems like a pretty good dude, right? He just seems like he was very respectful, complimentary to Gervonta Davis's performance and his win. He didn't make any excuses, at least not yet, right? We'll see if he brings anything up in the days and weeks to come. But at this point, it was just, he was the better man. Congratulations. He caught me with a good shot. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Thank my Lord and Savior. Ryan Garcia was still showing high character even in defeat. And there's a lot to be said about that, But yeah, let me know your thoughts overall on this one. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.